So basically, this lesson introduces the different state of the ICT technologies, different online platforms, functionalities, and the different websites and applications. So what are our objectives for this lesson? So the first one, students will be able to improve their knowledge and skills on how the ICT affects their lives, and of course be able to compare and contrast the differences between the different online platforms, website, and most especially the contents. And they can understand the different features of the dynamic web or the web 2.0 and how really the World Wide Web works, and together with the web 3.0 or the semantic web. And the last objective is you'll be able to learn the different trends in the information and communication technology. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so this is normally happen at the beginning of the lesson for them to check their prior knowledge about the lesson. Okay, so the different topics for the introduction are first, we are going to discuss the different online platforms, different websites, contents, the classification of the website. We have 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And the World Wide Web itself and the different trends in ICT. So these are the different topics that I'm going to discuss for this lesson. Now, how do we understand empowerment technologies? So when we say empowerment technologies, what comes into your mind? Alright, so you can comment down below on what is your answer. But when we say empowerment technologies, if we're going to further give definition to it, so empowerment meaning there is an authority on how are you going to use the technology. Okay, so we have different types of technology nowadays, which is very much evident since the pandemic arises. So we are very much exposed to the different types of technology, cell phone, computer, and many other things around us. So in using the technology, we should be very careful. We should always think of our safety, especially if we are in the digital technology. So it's very important that we know our limitation as well. Okay. Now, in connection with that, with the information and communication technology, so as we all know, information and communication technology is the totality of using the technology where we can actually get information and communicate with other people. Okay, so information and communication technology is very, very important in order for us to be more knowledgeable, skillful, and in using that, we actually normally go into the World Wide Web. So we all know the World Wide Web. We call it the information superhighway, where we get a bunch of information on it. And our role is to make sure that we are getting the right information. Okay, a valid information, valid website, valid resources. Specifically, if we have this assignments, project, research that we are working on, so the internet is actually there to guide us. But we should have the skills on how we can determine on what resources we're going to use. Okay, research skills and the application of how we can define or determine on what kind of website we are using or we are going to use in order for us to give or to get the necessary information. Okay. Now the person behind the World Wide Web is no other than Tim Berners-Lee. So he is the one who actually created the World Wide Web. That was 1989. So Timothy John Berners-Lee. So he is a computer scientist, a British physicist, and he was born on June 8, 1955 in United Kingdom. Now let's talk about the different works of Tim Berners-Lee. So we have the classification of the website. The first classification is, we call it Web 1.0 or the static web. So what is a static web? So based on the term static, so we will be able to identify that it is fixed, stationary, meaning the information is never been edited by the user, and it is there only for us to read it. So it's a read only website. So there is no interaction much from the user. So that is what we call the Web 1.0. Now in this example that I have on my slide, what do you think, or which of this website considered to be Web 1.0 or static web? Okay, you can type it on the comment section. But here, as I can see it, we only have a few examples that we can consider as a Web 1.0. So Wikipedia can be edited, so it's not read-only. YouTube, you can upload the videos, and so on and so forth. So PSA, pretty much an example. So you can only get information on it, together with the GMA News website and the NASA. So those are example of Web 1.0 or static web. Okay. On the other hand, we have the dynamic web pages or websites. We call it Web 2.0. So this is the the website which is actually what do we call this? If 1.0 is a read-only website, so this is the counterpart of it, wherein the users have interaction on it. So the users can do editing, the users can post information, the users can create an account using the website, the users can post contents, or the users can put reviews, comment, or evaluation on the website. So that is what we call the Web 2.0 or the dynamic web page or website. Okay, moving on. So according to the survey, the most websites that we visit today, including myself, are Web 2.0. And that is true, right? So probably 90% or even 95% of the Filipinos, or not only Filipinos, but people around the world are visiting the dynamic website where they have interaction, or they can probably create their own contents. Okay, so that is dynamic web. Now let's identify what are the different features of the Web 2.0. So we have 6. So we have taxonomy, rich user interface, we have the long tail, user participation, software as a service, and then mass participation. So let's identify what is going to be the definition of each feature of the dynamic web or Web 2.0. Now, taxonomy says that it actually categorizes and classify arrange information using freely chosen keywords. Okay, so this is pretty much common and familiar to you because this is referring to the social media where we actually use keywords in order to arrange those kind of information that we are sharing to the public or even to our friends. And sometimes we use hashtag to do it, right? So we have there Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter in order for us to categorize information that we wanted depending on the content that we are sharing to them. So we call it taxonomy. Now, the rich user interface is actually a kind of website that allows the users to modify the content of the website. So, in modifying that, we have to create first our account in order for us to enjoy the services of the website. Pretty much, social media is also part of that. Okay, we have other website that we can also create an account like Google services. So we call it a rich user interface. Now for the long tail, these are the website where the users have to pay for the subscription in order for them to access the website. And the subscription, it could be monthly, quarterly, or annual subscription payment, depending on the terms that you would like to get. All right, so with that subscription, you will be able to enjoy the services of the website. Okay, so but the only thing is you have to pay for it. So most commonly we have Netflix as one of the best example for long time. And the user participation is a feature of the dynamic website, which the users can actually put a comment on a specific article. They can participate in a poll or review or a specific product. So with this, we can identify that this is mostly for the online stores website. So you have their Lazada, Shopee, Zalora, eBay, Amazon. So those are examples that we can actually uh, provide for this type of or the feature of the dynamic. So you can definitely give reviews to the different products so that the other customer or client will be able to see it and probably buy the same product if it's a positive reviews. Okay, so we call it user participation. Now for the software as a service, this pretty much similar to long tail, but the only difference is the users on the software as a service will only pay a one-time fee for the subscription, and they can now enjoy the services lifetime or even use it for free. Okay, so one example that I can think of is the Google services application, like Word, I mean Google Docs, Excel, what do you call that? Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Classroom. All right, so you can use it for free for a limited access, but if you want to enjoy other services, you can pay for subscription on it. And we also have the offline version, which is the Microsoft, that you have to pay for the license one time, and you can enjoy the service. So we call that software as a service. Now, for the mass participation, this is probably the last feature. So the users can access diverse information sharing through the universal web access. So this is pretty much engaging in the website in a large scale. So unlike the user participation, it's probably like a number of users. But for mass participation, this is a bunch of people who are um, having share information content using the different social media platforms, or even join to an event where everybody can actually um, giving their opinion and thoughts on a specific topic. So we call it mass participation. Okay, so that is, or those are the different features of the dynamic website. Now let's talk about the third classification of the website. So which is the Web 3.0. Okay, but before that, let us recap. So the first classification, we call it the Web 1.0, which is static. There is no interaction from the user. The second one is the Web 2.0, which is the counterpart of it, where there is an interaction from the users and they can do anything on it on the website. Okay, on this one, the Web 3.0 or the semantic web. So the difference is that this one is actually works through the use of the servers or machine, where they will be able to understand the user preferences to deliver specific contents on a specific user. So this is most probably user preference, and as of the moment, so this type of website is not yet available because of the different reasons, and during the trials, they actually encounter different problems. That's why it's not yet implemented. So what are the different problems? You have the compatibility. So sometimes the page is not compatible with other machine or device, and most specifically the security is at risk, because since this is a user preference, so there might be issues with the security where the data can actually leak and be able to checked by other users. Okay, so that's pretty much not good in terms of using the website. And vastness, so since it's a user preference, we can encounter very slow connection because of the multiple web pages loaded. Vagueness, so this is in terms of um, the appropriateness, or um, most of the users are using different terms, so it's not really understandable for such terms, so it can be varied. That's why it's really vague, and the logic is pretty much the computer language that they are using, since we're talking about machine for this one. So sometimes it's not really compatible in terms of the language that they are using for the users. Okay, so those are the different problems of the semantic web. Now for the trends in ICT, so pretty much this is very important that we have an idea on where are we right now in terms of the technology that we are using. So the first one is the technological convergence. So when we say technological convergence, so this is pretty much a combination of the task and the device. So combining it in one, wherein they can still work on a similar task in a convenient way, and we can access the different applications anytime, anywhere. So we call it technological convergence. So we have the mobile phones, for example. So as long as you have a connection, then you can use it anytime, anywhere. Now for the social media, this is very common, and more users are using it. So this is some kind of a website or an application where different users are interacting to each other, putting different contents, and basically they can actually exchange and communicate using the social media. Okay, that's number two. Now, we have different types of the social media according to its according to the different examples. So, for example, if we're talking about Facebook, so this is social networks. Why? Because these sites will allow the users to connect with the same interest or background. So that is social network. Now, for the bookmarking site, so basically from the word itself, you can actually save or bookmark a specific website that you would like to go back anytime, and you would like to see the content over and over again. So one of the examples is the Pinterest, and another one is the StumbleUpon. Okay. On the other hand, we have the social news, which you can actually post your own news item, or even you can link other news sources. So example for that is the Reddit and Dig. And we also have the media sharing. So this is pretty much common. So like what I'm using right now. So the YouTube, where you can post videos, Instagram for pictures, in Flickr for music, and other media contents. Now for the microblogging, they say it's just a short updates from the user. So one of the example that I think of is the Twitter, and other one is Blur. Lastly, the blogs and forums. So these websites allow the users to post any contents. So we have the Blogger, WordPress, and Tumblr. So those are the 6 types of social media. So again, we have social networks, bookmarking site. We have social news, media sharing, microblogging, blogs, and forums. Okay, let's move on to the third trends. You have the mobile technologies. So this have the capability to do tasks that originally found in the personal computer. So we already mentioned this on the technological convergence. So having the task at your own fingertips, it's very easy. So because you cannot carry your desktop wherever you go, although you can have your laptop, but you have limited access to it, especially if it's already low battery. How about using the mobile phone? So it's very much convenient and very much portable. So you can do whatever um, task on it as long as you have the programs or applications installed. So you have different types of mobile phones. So you have the smartphones, which has the capability of Wi-Fi connectivity, web browsing, and of course, you can install different applications. So the different operating systems that we have right now. So we have the iOS for Apple device. We have Android for our Android phones. BlackBerry for the BlackBerry phones. Windows phones for Windows OS for the Windows phone. And then Symbian, this is the old operating system for the smartphones. We have the Web OS as well. Now we are using it for smart TV. So those are the different operating system for mobile technologies. And lastly, we have the assistive media. So this is the one that our person with disability are using in order for them to, of course, get information on, and then they will be able to interact as well with the digital media using the different services. Okay, like we have talk to speech, uh, ebooks, right? So those are some of the example that we can think of for the assistive media. Also with the audio recordings that they have, then they can definitely listen to it. Okay. Okay, so that is pretty much for the first lesson under the empowerment technology. So I hope you learned something from it. The next video we'll be talking about the lesson 2. So make sure to subscribe so you can also check that out in the next video. Thank you, Empowers.